Hello and welcome to this week's episode of your Power Packed Podlets. My name is Rachel and I'm your host for these mini magical journeys together. And this week's episode, I've got something really special lined up for you. I'm going to be sharing something with you that has been one of the most profound things that has helped me in my journey of life. And I have a feeling it's something that you potentially tap into regularly. And it's the following, which is storytelling. Now, I have a feeling you're probably like me. If you're listening to these episodes, you are probably someone like me that you love learning. You've probably listened to podcasts on a regular basis. You love reading books. You probably order so many books that you don't have time to read them all. And you're probably right now thinking about what else can I get certified in? You've already got a whole load of certifications and studies under your belt, and you're already thinking, what else could I get certified in? Not because you feel you have to, rather because you love learning. There's something about when we study with an expert and we go really into depth in a subject. It's a whole new perspective on life, on the human experience. It's expanding our mind, right? And you don't only learn in the moment, you find that it impacts your life well after taking the certification, well after the course itself. You continue through applying what you learn, understanding it on greater and greater levels. So if you're like that, you already know the power of taking courses and reading books. But if you're like me, you also know there is something, and this is something AI will probably never, I'm saying probably because, we don't know, right? But probably will never be able to replace. And it's the capacity to reach your heart, because through stories is that understanding of what it is to be human. And I don't mean just any old story. The type of stories I've found have really helped me have been the ones that people have shared around how they've overcome the most challenging moments in their lives. How they've got through times when they thought that they couldn't continue, when they thought that it felt like everything was crumbling around them, like there was no way out of the hole they felt they were in. And it's their story of not just the hole they were in, how they came out the other side and thrived on the other side. From a really young age, this has been something that I've given quite a lot of time to. Like on a weekly basis, I give time and space and focus to listening to other people's stories. They've been the things that have given me insights and the courage to continue to get through depression, through eating disorders, body dysmorphia, financial crisis, all sorts of really hard moments in my life. Courses have made a big difference, but stories have made an even bigger difference. And so today, I always consider what's going to help my listeners the most, what's going to make the biggest impact. And I know that stories is one of those. And so today I'm going to share a bit with you one of my stories of going from financial crisis, the requirement of the dissolution of my previous business, and that allowed for the birth of the one that I now have, which is a whole other reality I never thought was possible. And it required that I go through that period of what felt like a really long and intense dark night of the soul for what has been birthed on the other side to be possible. So whether right now you're at a place in your life, maybe you're considering leaving your job to set up a business, maybe you're in the beginning stages, or you're running a business right now, potentially doing what you love, but you don't have the level of freedom that you want, you're going to find that this story is really helpful. It's going to give you a sense of inspiration, hope, or clarity of some sort. So let me take you back in time. It was actually previous to the financial crisis. It was 2019, so just before we went into quarantine. And for about a period of a year, I had this thriving business. It was the second business in holistic wellness, personal development that I'd set up, and it was going really well. I built a name for myself, I built a reputation, and I didn't actually have to look for clients anymore. My classes and my one-on-one sessions would fill themselves up, and I kind of got to select my clients by this point because I'd been doing it for long enough. But there was something missing. At that time, I couldn't quite put my finger on what it was. I was working really hard, sometimes 6 days a week, and my income was capped at maybe around 35 to 40,000 euros per year. And I had to work really hard to get to that. And yes, I was earning above and beyond the majority of people in my locality in the same career, but I was exhausted. And every single time I went on holiday, my income stopped. If I got a cold and I had to take time off, income stopped. And I was not really consciously aware of this at the time, but there was a growing realization that my 40s weren't that far away, and I couldn't really sustain the rhythm I was working at. Although I really loved what I was doing, it required a lot of energy, and it didn't give me room to really relax when I did take time off. And then quarantine hit. And it was a really scary moment because the whole of my business was built on what I realized was a house of cards, because it required that I be always present, I'd be giving my energy and my time, and I'd be working with people in person. So when we went into quarantine, suddenly income dried up. I didn't have anything in savings at that time because I'd invested all of it in a previous business. And I actually reached a moment, I'm not going to go too deep into this part of the story, but I reached a moment where I didn't have enough money to put food on the table or to cover my rent. And so, yes, it was a really scary time. It was a moment where I find myself actually scrambling to find ways to have money coming in just to cover my basic costs. And it was a massive kick in the face and a massive wake-up call. It was a realization that I was an expert in my field. I was renowned for being exceptional at what I did. I had above and beyond in certifications and experience what the majority of people in my field had. And yet I found myself in this position. And I remember going through a massive identity crisis. You know, this feeling of reaching my 40s and thinking, how is it possible I'm in this position? How is it possible? If I'd been working for somebody else, I would have worked up the ladder. I would have been earning way more than I was at that point. And I would have had way more security than I had. And it really felt like a kick in the gut. But not only that, after that, I went through a period of about 18 months of chronic anxiety, because it was the realization of the lack of safety that I built. I'd focused on being an expert in my field. I'd focused on giving exceptional service. I'd focused on brand, but I hadn't really understood the importance of building security, not just financial, but building a business model that allowed me to actually take time off and that could run without me always being there, always participating, that continued to bring value to my clients and help my clients, including when I was taking time off, whether it was on holiday because I had a cold, or I don't know, I want to go and do a Vipassana and completely disconnect, whatever it is, to actually have a business that brings more people more value whilst I make more income. So I'm not going to sugarcoat this. It was a period of time of learning. It was the dissolution of everything I'd understood up until that point, and an awakening to the importance of studying again. And so I really got my head down, and the moment money started coming in, I was putting every spare penny to one side to study and learn. I realized that I'd been really good at building brand and reputation and giving an exceptional service. Now it was time to understand the ecosystem of business, what it is to build a company, not to be a small business owner, not to work as a service provider. Because for some of you, if you're currently running a business where you're the service provider, it's going to sting a little bit. When you work as a service provider and you identify only as a service provider, your income will always be capped and your business will always require energy from you. Your clients will always require more from you to get more results. This is the challenge of thinking like a service provider. So this was a big wake-up call. I'd never considered calling myself an entrepreneur or thinking about being the owner of a company. And so all of these studies from them was really getting my mind into that. Now, let me fast forward a moment so you can kind of see what I'm leading you towards, because there is a happy ending to this. So that period, that really challenging period, what it showed me was what needed to change. I mean, this is what happens, right? Hard moments in our life, they often show us what needs to change, and it's not comfortable. It's not necessarily an easy process. And this is where so many people go through what we call the terror barrier. Like, one of my coaches taught me this, and it's really been a game changer. Bob Proctor's teaching on the terror barrier is understanding for us to create a new reality. It does require we go through this uncomfortable period of facing our old thinking and our old ways of being whilst we're integrating new ones. And so there was a period of a couple of years of doing this. Like meeting my relationship with money, my relationship with leadership, with setting boundaries, with nervous system regulation. I hadn't realized how much emotion there was in everything that I did. And yes, putting heart into something, yeah, let's do that. But don't put anxiety and overwhelm. Don't put self-worth into things, because I realized I was putting so much of my self-worth external to me. I was overgiving. I wasn't comfortable saying yes and no when it was required, and I was actually determining my yes and no based on what I thought the other person wanted, not what I knew to be true. And so there was this real process of going within and cleaning up so much stuff, because on the other side, I promised the ending, right? On the other side, what was birthed is the company I run now. That we've now had our first six-figure year. But six figures is just like scratching the surface when it comes to running a company. I've now built a business model where I'm able to serve others. I can bring more and more and more and more value to other people and help more people, but it doesn't require more of me. And so now how I run my business, I'm able to double my income and double it again without having to give more of me. Actually, how I've set up things now and what I did in that process, it wasn't just learning about business strategy. It wasn't just learning about how to create a business model. A huge amount of it was leadership. A huge amount of it was self-regulation. A huge amount of it was identity. To actually adopt the identity of a company owner, a founder, who is also a service provider within that company. So I get to serve people but have boundaries. I get to serve people but have time off. So why do I know that this is such a powerful story to share? Because I know that some of you listening, you're already in that transition. You've realized how you're running your business now. It's been working, but it's not what you want to carry on into your 40s, 50s, 60s. You actually want to do things differently, so that you can have more time freedom, more financial freedom, while still doing what you love. And probably how you've been doing things up until that point don't allow you the level of freedom you want. So you know things have to change. Maybe you're already doing it. So if that's the case for you, let me share a nugget of wisdom that I wish I'd known back then. Give yourself space and time. The process of learning, understanding, and becoming. Because there's a part of you that has to become the leader, become the owner of a company, become the version of you that makes exponentially more salary than you currently do, that can receive it and hold it and manage it and trust your capacity to make that repeatedly again and again and again. This is a process of becoming. For me, there were so many stories I was unconscious around, believing that money is bad, believing it's wrong. I now realize that by making way more than I've ever made before, my focus is no longer on money. So I have more nervous system capacity and mental space to really help people. This has been an eye-opener. So give yourself space to become. Give yourself the time to process as you're learning and growing all of your old programming that it isn't going to serve you based on where you're going. It is going to come to the surface, and it's not all going to be comfortable. So can you give yourself the space and the grace to allow that to be there and to be present with it and to work with it, not push it away or make it bad or wrong? Not only this, it's the learning of how the ecosystem of business functions. If you've been taking courses, you've been looking, like maybe even investing in different experts to help you with things. Maybe you focused on sales, maybe you focused on branding, maybe you focused on offer suite. It's not about one element to business. It's about the whole ecosystem. And it's a journey of learning each element, and it's beautiful. Beautiful to learn each element and understand it beyond mind, that inner knowing of what it means and what it represents. And that's something that takes time. It doesn't happen overnight with one course. It happens through you being in your business, doing the things and failing and getting it wrong. So this takes me to another essential element: getting comfortable with failure. This is one of the things that the moment I understood that failure is part of the journey of growth, rather than trying to avoid it, actually leaning into failure and learning from it, this is a game changer. So what does it look like for you to actually slow down, to speed up? Give yourself space. Not try and rush to the goal and rush to the right result and make it bad or wrong when you're not there overnight. But maybe you're not there yet. Maybe where you're at is you're just starting out, or even just beginning to consider creating change. What would I say to the version of me who is at that point? What I would say is the following. There are a few different elements to be focusing on that are going to serve you, not only in business and income, but in life. It's not just about strategy. It's about who you become as you learn the things and you choose to show up in service to others from a place of inner abundance. Now, what do I mean by this? For you truly to be of service, you must know what it is to feel safe within yourself, not just in one area of your life, as you navigate all of the fucking ups and downs, the ins and outs, and some of the shit that happens in life. Because to be of true service is to be a clear vessel, where you do not take on the responsibility of other people's healing or other people's well-being, but you model what it is to hold a standard and to do what is required to get the results your clients want. That is when you can be of true service. Let me say that again to you. To be of true service is not to save the other. It is not to worry about your clients. It is not to make your clients need you for them to be better. To be of true service is to know within yourself what it is to hold a standard and what's required to get the result, so you can hold your clients to that standard with full confidence. So I'm going to leave you with one thought. And before I do, by the way, if you're not signed up to the event at the end of this month, what are you waiting for? We have a free live event the 26th to the 29th of May. It's going to be 4 60-minute sessions that are going to change your life. Come to all of them. Put the dates in your diary. 6 p.m. Spanish time. I'm going to add the link in the comments, the description to this session. If you've got any questions, send me a DM. And we are hosting a prize draw where you get to have 30 days in my online school, where you get to be part of the community. You get to be supported and guided on your journey for a full 30 days. It's an insane prize. So I highly recommend participating in that prize draw. So I'm going to leave you with this thought, because I know that pretty much all of you, if not all of you listening to this, what you desire is to bring light to this world, to be a part of the change, to serve others, to make a difference. It's something like a calling from within you. A desire to bring good to the world in some way because you've been through some shit and you've dealt with that shit and you've healed and you've grown and you've known the difference that all of the practices that you do make, and you want to help others with it as well. And so I'm going to share a golden nugget with you. And we're going to end the podlet on this. One of the things I do with my clients that makes a profound difference is I am super clear on what's required of my clients to get what they want. So my job is to find out what you want if you're my client. What is it you want? And then I am clear on what is required of you to get to where you want to go. And my work is, I believe fully 1000%, well, 100, because 1000 doesn't exist, right? 100%. I believe 100% in your capacity to have everything you desire. I know you can. And I know the only thing that gets between where you are and where you want to be is a you. It's the only thing. Your beliefs, your fears, your trauma responses, your identity, how you take action, nervous system, nervous system, nervous system, and knowledge. I know that they're the only things missing. And so my job is to guide you and hold you to that standard. And every single time I find you making excuses, not doing the things, being afraid, going into old patterns, it's from a place of love to mirror it back and to hold the standard. You want this. This is what's happening. This is why you're not getting to where you want to go. This is what's required. Are we continuing to go there? I know you can do it. I know you've got this. This is what it is to be of service. It's not to let your clients off the hook. It's not to say, oh, well, maybe next time. It's to say, do you want it? Are you ready? Because I believe in you. I know it's scary. I know it can feel so hard. These are the words we use. This is the energy we use. This is how we show up. We know it's hard. Why? Because we've done it. We know it's scary. Why? Because we've done it. We know what it feels like to want to give up because we've been there. And we hold the standard. We hold the standard. And we hold space for our clients as their stuff comes up. Yeah, I know it's hard. Tell me about it. Share a bit of that with me. And with love, we keep guiding them towards the goal. And we show them what they're capable of. We show them what they're able to do when they feel the fear and do it anyway. When they regulate their nervous system. So, if this resonates for you, this is what we do in the certification program in the school. I'm just going to plant this seed. I run a certification program where you learn what it is to clear all within yourself first, to be the one who models the standard, to be the one who knows what it is to hold safety within yourself non-circumstantially, to understand the full spectrum of your human experience so as to be able to guide your clients from that place. We go through all of the elements, the science, the spirituality, the mind, the body, the soul path, the frameworks of the human experience, the patterns that we repeat and why we repeat them. We go through all of that so that when you're serving a client, you know why they feel blocked. You know why they keep self-sabotaging. And so you know what it takes to help move them past it. So if that sounds interesting and you'd like to know more about the certification program, send me a DM. We keep it to an intimate group and we meet in person in Spain in October. So if you sign up now, you get to join us for the next in person. Okay, I'm going to leave you with that, and I look forward to seeing you in the live event at the end of this month. And I will meet with you again next week for the next episode of your Power Packed Podlets.